Let's talk about Abandoned by Disney. It was one of the first creepypastas I ever read, and remains one of my favorites. Uploaded by Slime Beast to the Slime Beast forum in 2013, the short horror story has been a popular topic for creepypasta readers, and has been made into an evolving set of fan games.
Hi, and welcome to Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom, Disneyland. I'm Marcia Miner, a traveling ambassador for Disneyland. But today it's great to be right here at home because our show is something extra special in Disneyland entertainment. Here in the Magic Kingdom, we have several important traditions that are part of the special magic of Disneyland. The most famous is a wish Walt Disney made the day Disneyland opened, when he said, "Disneyland will never be completed as long as there is imagination left in the world."
The premise of the story is that the poster wanted to do some urban exploration at an abandoned Disney attraction known as Mowgli's Palace, a jungle-themed hotel and resort with real jungle wildlife. Disney then shut it down very suddenly for no real reason, quickly after construction. Instead of demolishing it, Disney left it abandoned, hence the name Abandoned by Disney. When Poster goes to explore, he begins experiencing strange things, culminating in a terrifying encounter with a Mickey Mouse costume. Poster starts out with a bit of exposition that basically states that Mowgli's Palace isn't the first place Disney has abandoned like this, the Treasure Island Resort being the other incident. Afterwards, he explains that his goal is to explore, as he finds the whole concept of an abandoned Disney resort interesting. After being stuck with no real leads and there suspiciously being virtually no news about the place since the 80s, he finally finds his way to the gates of the resort. Hanging on the gates is a sign with the words "Abandoned by Disney" scrawled on it. He makes his way into the resort, exploring the relatively normal but still interesting sights. Abandoned buildings, statues of characters from the Jungle Book, etc. He finally approaches the main palace, where another sign reading "Abandoned by Disney" is hanging above the doors. Inside he finds an interesting sight. Quote, "The inside of the building was so stark, so bare, that I actually think people had stolen the molding off the walls. Anything that was too big to steal, counters, desks, fake trees, they were all resting in this empty echo chamber that amplified every step like the slow rat-a-tat of a machine gun." Poster continues exploring the building, determined to find something interesting, eventually making his way into the freezer of the kitchen. Hanging from the walls are meat hooks, which seem to be swinging slightly, as if of their own volition. Poster even attempts to stop one of them from moving, but it quickly continues after he tries to still it. An eerie sight indeed, but not the creepiest thing he'll be witnessing. Exploring the bathrooms, he finds the water is still running, as many faucets were leaking or running. Strange, considering the place was shut down many years ago. During his investigation of the hotel rooms, Poster even says he hears a quiet conversation coming from one of the suites. "I didn't believe it." A short, unknown reply. "I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Your father told you." Unknown reply, or possibly just weeping. Poster decided it would be better to leave quickly for fear of being attacked by some vagrants. Leaving the palace quickly, Poster was almost disappointed. He didn't have anything interesting to show for his adventure. In one last look around the grounds in hopes of finding something interesting, he finds a lifelike statue of a python. A great picture to bring back. Except it's not a statue. As Poster realizes when he gets close to take a picture, the python is very real. When Disney abandoned the place, they let loose all the wildlife, including the inhabitants of the reptile house. Luckily, the python appears not to be hungry, as it slithers into the woods instead of attacking Poster. Utterly dumbfounded, Poster heads to the palace again to take a seat by some stairs he saw on his way out. It's worth mentioning, the stairs lead down into a sub-ground level floor of the resort. Feeling better after sitting down, Poster notices the two signs tacked on the door at the bottom of the stairs. Another "Abandoned by Disney" sign, and an official sign reading "Mascots only, thank you." His interests piqued again, Poster heads down to notice even more good news. The lock on the door hasn't already been broken, meaning no one has gone down there since it was first abandoned. Seeing an opportunity to get a good photo or snag an interesting souvenir, Poster easily busts open the lock and heads inside. The moldy and quote-unquote squishy room seemed relatively untouched, but the darkness was growing the farther Poster explored. Finally, Poster reaches a door with the words Character Prep 1 written on it. When Poster attempts to open the door, it seems that it won't budge. But when Poster finally gives up and walks away, the door slowly creaks open by itself. Inside, the room is pitch black until suddenly the lights on the room turn on by themselves. As Poster surveys the room, his eyes are drawn to a certain old, moldy costume in particular. A Mickey Mouse suit lying face down on the floor, its coloration inverted. A photo-negative Mickey. While Poster is frightened, he certainly isn't going to pass up the opportunity of a great photo shoot. So, in an attempt to set up a shot, Poster picks up one of the mascot heads lying around when a clatter. A human skull falls out of the costume, shattering on the floor. Poster runs for the door but can't help but look back. What he had seen was crazy, and he wants evidence as to what occurred. Disney would be held responsible for this. While all of these thoughts were running through his head, that's when the photo-negative Mickey costume begins to move, then stand. Poster whips his camera out, but where the Mickey costume is, his camera only shows distorted pixels, a distorted silhouette of Mickey, but no detail. Then the camera dies. And as Poster looks up to the costume, it speaks in an eerie but accurate Mickey Mouse voice.
Hey! You want to see my head come off?
And then, painfully slowly, it begins to rip at its own head, and as it does, thick yellow blood begins dripping from the wounds as the head begins to detach itself from the body. Before Mickey can complete this disgusting act, Poster turns and bolts, seeing one last message posted above the door, only visible from this side. Abandoned by God. It ends with the Poster explaining that he has never been able to recover the pictures from the event, and on the ominous note of, I knew why Disney didn't want anyone to know about this place. They didn't want anyone like me getting in. They didn't want anything like that getting out. So, let's analyze this. To do that, I'll set up a series of questions based on each significant event in the story. 1. Who or what were the voices in the hotel room? 2. What caused the hooks to swing? 3. Why was the skull inside of the mascot head? 4. What the hell was photo-negative Mickey? And all of these questions will help us answer the final question. Why did Disney abandon Mowgli's palace? I'm coming at the voices first because I think it brings up the best points in my theory on why Disney abandoned Mowgli's palace. In the beginning of the story, Poster brings up that before Mowgli's palace was shut down, it had a few visitors. I suppose early investors or a test group before it was fully opened. I believe the voices Poster hears are some sort of remnant of the guests. Certain paranormal investigators believe that tragedies can leave dark energy behind, causing side effects of visions of ghostly figures reenacting their final moments or voices of past conversations. The line, "Your father told you," makes me think the two voices are a parent and their child. I believe this also explains the hooks. Something residual moving those hooks, maybe the food that used to occupy them. But what tragedy occurred here that could cause this dark energy? To figure that out, let's move on to the next question. The skull. I think the skull inside the suit is evidence as to what happened to cause such a dark effect. But I think there's more that we haven't seen. Now, we don't have enough details to fully understand what happened, but I'd like to venture a guess based on an excerpt from the sequel to Abandoned by Disney, Room Zero, which I may do a separate video on. You know what happens when a costumed employee drops dead in his suit? Like, 1 second he's taking a picture with little Jimmy, and the next, he's had a fatal stroke. A second costume mascot in the area has to sit with the corpse on a curb or bench and wait for a designated quote-unquote dry cleaner to arrive and cart the body away in a discreet manner. All the while, patrons have no idea they're sitting with a dead body for photo ops. Yeah, makes the skull make a lot more sense. It's just one of the possibly many more victims to Disney's commitment to the magic of the Magic Kingdom. Now, presumably, the norm is to then call emergency services and alert families, but maybe that kind of issue wasn't something Mowgli's palace could deal with, not having even been open to the public yet. Maybe they covered it up, hiding the bodies in the costume room. The employees might not have even known. They thought they were just another costume. This leads nicely into who the hell the photo-negative Mickey costume is. And quite honestly, I think there's a big clue in its name and appearance. It's photo-negative, the opposite of what Mickey Mouse should be. The symbolism is pretty clear. I think photo-negative Mickey is almost like a demon that represents the flip side of Disney, the part that you aren't supposed to see. By leaving the people in the suits to rot, photo-negative Mickey was almost summoned to punish Disney, taking the form of exactly what it was punishing Disney for, the dark, unseen side of Disney. He's everything that Disney doesn't want to show you, a terrifying embodiment of Disney's mistakes. So, clearly that moves us on to the next question. Why Disney abandoned Mowgli's palace? The short answer is photo-negative Mickey. Disney's punishment was basically to have photo-negative Mickey terrorize and haunt Mowgli's palace until they were forced to shut it down. Photo-negative Mickey made it impossible for them to open the place, so it had to shut down. I think this question is pretty open and shut, really. There are a couple of questions still unanswered, like who left all the signs? It could have been photo-negative Mickey taunting and simultaneously warning people about the place. It could have been the last employees of the place trying to ward photo-negative Mickey off, with the one we see in the final costume prep room being made by someone left behind, who's probably dead inside that very room. There's also the question as to who let the reptiles out, but this is personal preference, I think. I think it could have just been that nature took its course and the animals escaped. But these questions don't take away from the bigger picture. Disney lied about employees' deaths and hid the bodies to save themselves from shutting Mowgli's palace down, a huge investment. Due to this terrible act, photo-negative Mickey was summoned to punish them for what they had done. Disney was forced to shut the park down, and our poster was just unlucky enough to stumble across this cursed place. But hey, that's just a theory! Tell me what creepypasta you want to see me open a file on next in the comments. And I'll see you guys next time.
A game theory.